Shalom, shalom. Mosiah Christ bless. Mosiah Christ bless. Officer, you want to thank Assad, man. It's always a pleasure to be out here. And the title of this class today is Charity Brings Forth Israelite Unity. But it's charity first. It comes from charity first, right? And it came basically, it was a quote that was said during, I don't think it was this Sabbath, it may have been I believe I was watching a class or studying charity. And Bishop brought that thing out. He was like, but true unity doesn't come without the charity first, right? But we want to touch on the subject real quick. Let's get that image up first. It takes a village, because it's a saying that we've heard. I mean, I've heard since I was a child, right? It says it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child, right? You can go ahead and put that up on the screen.
It takes a village to raise a child is an African proverb that means many people are needed to raise a child, not just the parents.
Right. And that statement alone is very heavy, right? Read that part again that's highlighted.
Many people are needed to raise a child, not just the parents.
Right. So, and, a lot of us experience that thing, because a lot of us, a mass majority, you see all the children running around in our congregation, right? And some of us are children to men and women that are within the body as well, right? So, and we have parents in this truth. But the whole thing is we have to acknowledge the fact that we have a new family and that we accept everyone else's child that's within the body as our children and vice versa. We got to understand that if my child is going off and my child needs help, they can go to their auntie or their uncle here or someone that they look at as papa, or, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. As we continue to repent, as we continue to learn who we are, and as we continue to fellowship and congregate, that's where this particular, statement becomes profound, right? Read that again. Pull it back up and read the whole paragraph.
It takes a village to raise a child is an African proverb that means many people are needed to raise a child, not just the parents. The phrase conveys the idea that a safe and healthy environment for children is a shared responsibility.
Right. Read on. I'll let you finish it.
And that children need support from their families and communities.
Right. Our children need support from not just their families at home, but they need it in their communities as well. And as we continue to come together as a nation, we are the Israelite community now.
Right.
That's what we are, and we must understand that, because all of our children are going to go through or going to have issues. We see these teenage children here, or even the young children, that they may be disobedient or acting up in the classroom and things of that nature, right? We see the teenage children, they may have different goals and different lusts, and they may have different weaknesses that they may not be comfortable coming to you as a parent. Now, of course, that's something that we can deal with, but it happens, right? It happens, and it brought to light to me because I remember my daughter, she had a little issue in the classroom where she was struggling with some things. It wasn't just her either. It was like a couple little kids in there, and you could tell that they was bothered. But what made me see that is when one of the sisters reached out. She reached out and was like, yo, I want to take her out for lunch, or you know what I mean? I want to talk to her. Is it all right to do that thing? And I was like, all praise. At first I was taken aback, like, nah, I'm a father, I'm gonna deal with it. But then I was like, nah, she needs that thing. She needs to hear that woman, you know what I mean? That sister, that auntie that believes in this thing, right? And that made me meditate on that particular statement there, and it was heavy. We do not understand what has been built here through the Spirit of Christ yet, right? Pull up community.
Community.
Hold on, let it get on the screen.
Yes, sir. Community. A group of people living in the same place are having a particular characteristic in common.
Go ahead.
The scientific community.
Read the second one.
A group of people living together in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
one practicing common ownership, right?
Ownership.
Read some of those similarities, like
brotherhood, sisterhood, fraternity, conformity,
colony, institution, body, right? Association. That's what we're building. We've built a brotherhood, right? We've built sisterhoods here, right? We've built communities. This is what we are, the body of Christ. That's what we have to accept first and foremost, that we are the new family. So let me get that in give me that in Matthew.
Yes, sir. I already got you.
Give me that in Matthew 12:49.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 49.
Mm-hmm.
And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren.
So Christ stretched forth his hand and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. To be honest, this is one of the hardest hurdles for every single one of us in here to accept. Right. And a lot of us in the congregations now, we still struggle with this thing here. We still struggle with the fact that this is our new family. Read on.
For whosoever shall do the will of my Father, which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
Right, the same as my brother and sister and mother. We must understand that thing as a nation of people. As we come into these doors, there's going to be no one closer to you than the people that have the same mind and the same spirit and have the same goals, which is to make it into the kingdom of heaven. Right, we must understand that this is our new family. Give me Mark chapter 10. Mark 10, verse 28 through 30. Right? Because the scriptures tell us through patience and comfort of the scriptures, we might have hope. But in order to have that patience and comfort, we must start believing in what the Bible says and start trusting in the scriptures, trusting in the Holy Spirit of Christ so that we can now start applying it and allow us to become that family to where that saying matters. It takes a village to raise a child. Right? Read that.
Mark chapter 10, verse 28.
Go ahead.
Then Peter began to say unto him, Lo, we have left all and have followed thee.
So Peter told Christ, lo, we have left all. That's what every single one of us has done. We have left our family in the world. We've left off worshiping idols and Christianity and Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and Mother's Day and birthdays. We've separated ourselves from our worldly family and friends. We've all made that sacrifice. Well, some of us have made that sacrifice, right? And some of us are struggling with making that sacrifice and understanding that, look, I cannot go back. Right, read on.
And Jesus answered and said,
Go ahead.
Verily I say unto you, there is no man that have left house or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake and the gospel's.
Read.
But he shall receive an hundredfold now in this time.
So he told us we're going to receive an hundredfold now in this time. So Christ has given us comfort, letting us know, look, yes, you may feel like you've forsaken your true mother, your sister and brother, but he said you're going to receive a hundredfold. You have hundreds of brothers and sisters now in this body. You can go to any state, damn near any country now, and have a place to reside in. Based off of the Spirit of Christ and the organization here, the community that has been set up here through the Spirit of Christ and coming down through our elders. Right? We must understand that. Finish that off.
But he shall receive an hundredfold now in this time houses and brethren.
He's going to receive those things. Read.
And sisters and mothers and children and lands with persecution.
With persecutions, though. Right? And that's what makes it tough for us to want to really settle in and think that, you know what I mean, this is my true family, because trials are going to come. Persecution is going to come. All these different things are going to happen for the sake of Christ. Right? And we must go through these things. So it's going to try and it's going to create a divide try to create a divide within the family. But we must rest on these scriptures here. We can't get offended if your child has an issue, you're not there, and your child comes up to one of the officers or soldiers or brothers for help or for that assistance that's needed. We can't get offended at that. Right? And I had to deal with that. I had to accept that thing like, yo, you know what? No. Even though this is my house, I have to allow the Spirit of Christ to deal and trust that this is a family right here. And trust that I know that this is best for not only my child, but best for the nation. Right? And a lot of people struggle with that thing. Is that it on that? Oh, finish that off.
And in the world to come, eternal life.
If we accept that thing, not only are we going to have 100-fold family members here right now, But in the world to come, we're going to live eternally with our family, with our true family in Christ. The family that has been ordained from the beginning must understand that. But we have separated from our family, and it's a reason why we do those things. And we got to make sure that parents, we make sure that our children separate from this world as well as ourselves. Not completely where you just forsaking your mother or forsaking your father and things of that nature, right? But wholeheartedly, you still be there. You still honor them by your actions and your walk in this truth, but is a way to separate from them in righteousness, right? But read that. Sirach Proverbs 12 and 26. Give me that one. Book of Proverbs chapter 12, verse 26. Because it's important. And go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 12, verse 26.
Go ahead.
The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor.
First, you have to acknowledge that you performing and you practicing righteousness, that makes you more excellent than your neighbor. You have to understand that spiritually, you have more understanding than your worldly family and your worldly friends, and that you're living a better life than those that are still eating shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster, those that are still fornicating, those that are not getting married, those that are still getting abortions, those that are still celebrating Christmas, those that are still flocking to the Christian church and the Muslim mosque. You have to believe that you are living a better life than that. Read.
But the way of the wicked seduceth them.
Go ahead. No, that's it. But the way of the wicked seduceth them. So we have to be mindful, and we have to be watchful of our surroundings, of the company that we're keeping, right? We should want to be continually with a godly man or woman at all times. If we find ourselves dealing more with the people in the world, whether it's going over to grandma's house or your children having worldly friends and they go into public school and things of that, you got to be mindful of those things, right? As a parent, you need to be watching who your children are hanging out with and who they're speaking to on a daily basis, right? Because if you don't do that, that child is going to be seduced by the world. You should want them to be amongst their new family and friends instead of being amongst their worldly family and friends, right? Give me that in Sirach chapter 27. These are basic precepts that we learn when we first come in, but for some reason it's difficult for our people to apply, right? Read.
Sirach chapter 27, verse 12.
Go ahead.
If thou be among the indiscreet.
The indiscreet meaning those that have no shame, those that are not applying God's laws to their life. Read.
Observe the time.
Be mindful, because you're going to have to be around your family. Your mother calls you and she needs help and things like that. You're going to help your mother. You're supposed to help your mother. But be mindful, observe the time, because the only conversation that they give you is, remember when, and I remember when you was this and you used to do that and all these different things. And they talk about how they raised you, right? And they try to put that on your children as well. You got to be mindful of that thing. When you're among the indiscreet, do what?
Observe the time.
Read.
But be continually among men of understanding.
That's what you must do. You have to bring your children around the men of understanding. You have to be around the men of understanding, right? When there's things going on Sundays, there's something happening at the schools damn near every day. From Camp 101, MOV, stewardship program, Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays is Camp 101, Thursdays is a class. Then you have Friday bringing in the Sabbath, and it's nonstop congregating and nonstop communication with the brethren. If you separate yourself from that, that's your fault. And these scriptures here have to hold weight, right? Because when you start dealing with the indiscreet, then you start envying the different things that they have going on. Give me that in Sirach chapter 9 and verse 11. Sirach chapter 9 verse 11.
Sirach chapter 9 verse 11. Envy not the glory of a sinner.
Right, because now you start, you know what I mean? Then you start hearing things. We have a little teenage children or even the young children. They have their little friends in school, and they see the fun that they're having on Saturdays, right? They see these things. And then they come here and they're sitting through a class. You know what I mean? They come here and they sit through class, 2 o'clock class at 3 or 4, then 5 o'clock class, things of that nature. They're sitting through class for about 8-9 hours. Right? As children, they don't understand these things. And if they have friends, what do you think they're doing? Especially if they have cell phones. Their friends is hitting them up. yo, this was fun yesterday and things of that nature. Yo, we out here at the park right now. Where you at? And then you know, I'm sitting through class. You know what I mean? I'm reading the Bible. These kids, you got to understand, that's the nature of a child. That's the nature of these teenagers, especially if we don't show the love of a Sabbath class or the love of going through scriptures or understanding that that is worldly nonsense. And that child is not being groomed amongst the other children. They're going to feel some kind of way about being here.
Right.
And now you have a bigger problem on your hand because these scriptures was not being applied. These scriptures was not being applied in regards to being among the indiscreet, observe the time, right? The ways of the wicked seduceth them. And now you're going to need that village to embrace you, not just you, but your entire household, right? For that assistance that's needed. Read that again. Read verse 11 again.
Envy not the glory of a sinner, for thou knowest not what shall be his end.
Right. And a lot of us older brothers and sisters, we understand the end of the glory of a sinner, right? A lot of us grew up in neighborhoods where it was, you know what I mean, drug dealing, a lot of different fornication and stuff. And we seen the end of a lot of the friends that we had in the world, the family members that we've had in the world. They either locked up, some dead, some are single mothers, some been through all type of different trials in life. You know what I mean? But we've seen that. But our children and these young adults have not seen those things, right? Give me Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. No, read verse 12. I'm sorry. Read verse 12.
Sirach, chapter 9, verse 12.
Go ahead.
Delight not in the thing that the ungodly have pleasure
It
in.
says delight not in the thing that the ungodly has pleasure in, right? What do you think the ungodly has pleasure in? Finish that off.
But remember, they shall not go unpunished unto their grave.
You got to understand that. We have to start developing a healthy fear of God to understand that the ungodly, though they look like they're having fun, right? They have all the women. They're spending the money that they've gotten by selling dope or by working on the Sabbath, all these different things. And we must understand that their punishment is going to be crazy. But what do they have pleasure in? Give me Hebrews chapter 11. What does the ungodly have pleasure in? Hebrews 11, verse 24.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 24.
Go ahead.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Moses refused to be called the prince of Egypt. Read on.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God.
And that's the mind. These are the scriptures here that our brothers and sisters need to keep in mind here. It's a choice that we have to make. And the choice has to be, once we learn that we've been lied to all of our lives, that being called a black African American was ridiculous. It's a slave name, a proverb, and a byword given to us. Once we've learned these different things, we must understand that we have to now make a choice. We have to now make it. What you're gonna live? You're gonna live your life in a lie, knowing that there's punishment coming, and knowing that we've been wronged as a nation and that we are actually God's people. You're either gonna choose to live in the truth or live a lie. Right? Read that verse again.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
So that's what we all have to. We have to refuse to be called the son of whatever, our slave names, and come back to our God. But read on.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God.
But we made a choice to suffer affliction with the people of God. Our new family, those that perform the will of God. Read on.
Than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
And that's what the ungodly has pleasure in. Sin. Sin.
Right.
We understand that. And we know it's sin. Breaking the Sabbath day is a sin.
Right.
Right? Having a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you're a teenager is a sin. Smoking cigarettes is a sin.
Right.
Breaking the dietary law is a sin. Sisters wearing pants is a sin. Right? And those are the only things that you're hearing about that these young brothers and sisters, even older brothers and sisters, are having pleasures in this world. It's not just the young ones. Right? We have older men in their 30s and 40s and stuff falling out this truth because they want to enjoy the pleasures of sin.
Right.
And live a lie. Live like a damn zombie. Be the walking dead. that you're called and that we're mocked at as a nation of people, right? We got to come out of that. We must understand those things. Just wanted to touch on that real quick. Give me Daniel chapter 9. The state of our community, right? The title of the class is called Charity Brings Forth Israelite Unity, right? So the only way that we're going to learn how to truly unify is if we learn how to apply charity. And we're still learning how to apply charity now. A lot of us, we may feel like we may think that we know how to love one another and we know how to apply love to each other, but that's all is tested constantly based on our actions and based off of our reactions, right? Do we give alms? Do we do it willingly? Right? Do we really want to be amongst the brothers and sisters? Are we trying to make amends with those that we may be offended with, or are we holding grudges within the body? All these different things we must understand that is a form of charity, and we will not come together completely in one mind and one spirit until we are able to apply charity perfectly, right? Give me Daniel chapter 9, verse 7.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 7.
Go ahead.
O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day.
Right, because we're still confused as a nation of people. The so-called black man is confused his face with Africans, right? With Nubians, with Native Americans, all these different things. Our faces are confused. The Hispanic man thinks they're Edomites, or they don't understand that they are Israelites, and things of that nature. We have confusion of face. Read that again from the top.
O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day.
Read on.
To the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem,
Go ahead.
and unto all Israel,
Go ahead.
they that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them.
Right, so it's not just the children of Judah. It's not just the southern kingdom that's confused. It's not just the so-called black man. You Hispanics are confused as well. Contrary to what you believe, Spanish is not your native language, fam. Spanish is not your native tongue. I mean, I guess you feel like it's something special because you know what I mean? You speak the thing, and it's something different from American, so you don't really associate yourself with American or slave, right? Or oppressed or colonized, right? But no, you've went through the same system of poverty, the same system of slavery that the so-called African Americans have went through as well. Both northern and southern kingdom, we suffer from confusion of face. Read on.
Through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee.
And the reason why we have confusion of face now as a nation of people is because we've trespassed against the Most High. You know what I want? Deuteronomy 28. Because we've trespassed against God. Verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Right, so the reason why we're a confused nation, we don't know how to unify, we don't know who we are, the reason why the reason why we're against each other in our own communities in general is because we've broken God's laws and we're suffering the curses from the Most High God right now. We understand that, right? Give me verse 37. Confusion of face. Read that.
Verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment.
And now our people are in astonishment. Our people are in astonishment when we walk out in the streets. We're in astonishment on social media. We're in astonishment within the regular media on television. We're in astonishment amongst each other. The way we act, the way we dress, the way we speak to one another, the way we conduct ourselves. It's an astonishment. How ridiculously blind we are to anything. Read.
A proverb and a byword.
Now we're a proverb and a byword. Our nationalities have been changed. We do not have our true identities anymore. The only nation of people that does not know who we are or that does not know who they are as a nation are the so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Israelites. Read on.
Among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Right, because we've been scattered. Go back to Daniel now. Read 9, verse 8. You're going to read through 14.
the book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 8.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face.
So Daniel restates that thing. Oh Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face. Read.
To our kings.
Go ahead.
To our princes.
Uh-huh.
And to our fathers.
Why?
Because we have sinned against thee.
Right, so that means from the top of our nation to the bottom. It doesn't matter how much money they've made, how aristocratic they may be and things of that nature. It doesn't matter. Our kings, our priests, everyone has confusion of face today. None of us know who we are. Right, read on.
To the Lord our God belong mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him.
But we still understand that we have that. We're living in the grace and mercy of God now through the death and the blood of his son, Jesus Christ. That's the reason why we now know who we are. Some of us do, right? And we can't forsake that. The part of knowing who we are is knowing that this is our mother, this is our brethren, knowing that we are still family, we are community, right? Read on.
Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God to walk in his ways, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets.
Read on.
Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
So he said, all Israel has transgressed the law. Read.
Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice.
Read on.
Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
The what?
The curse is poured upon us.
So Daniel is confirming as well that we are suffering these curses written in the book of Moses. He's confirming that thing. Read on.
And the oath that is written in the law of Moses,
Go ahead.
the servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
Read.
And he have confirmed his words.
So the Most High has confirmed his words, meaning prophecy came through. That's how we know that we're the Israelites in the first place, because we're literally living what we're reading in the book. We understand that. Daniel understood that. All of the prophets understood that these things was going to happen. The Most High put the Spirit on them to prophesy these things for us in these last days, for us to understand those things. We can't forsake that. There's no way in hell you should want to, regardless of what you're going through. If you blaspheme that Holy Ghost and talk about you're ready to leave and things of that nature, you are going to die. Right. We were bought with a price. We must understand that price that we were bought with and start accepting the family that the Most High has given us by performing his will and learning how to deal with one another. Read on.
And he have confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil.
What did he call the curses?
A great evil.
Read on.
For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem.
It says under the whole heaven. They've never seen a nation of people go through what the so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans have been through on this earth. No nation. So there's no way in the world these other nations can be called Israelites. No, Edomite, you're not an Israelite. Ishmaelite, you're not an Israelite. You Arabs, you white people, so-called, you red people. The Chinese man is not an Israelite. They're not going through and have not gone through what we've went through. Read that again.
That's right.
And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us.
Read on.
By bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem.
You've never seen an entire nation of people transported on slave ships, shackled and chained, to the effect that our nation, I don't want to hear nothing about no damn Irish, right? That doesn't make any damn sense. The Holocaust, that did not happen to us. We didn't deal with no Holocaust, no damn gas chambers, right? We dealt with literal chambers of death on slave ships, to the point when we docked, there was more chambers of death and hell and torture and torment, rape and robbery. That's what we've dealt with. Read on.
As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet may we not our prayer before the Lord our God.
All this evil has come before us, and we still haven't seeked the Lord our God yet. Still haven't seeked it. Read.
That we might turn from our iniquities.
Go ahead.
And understand thy truth.
That is the importance of our brothers and sisters today. That is the importance, especially of our young men. You young teenage brothers and you young adolescent men, and even our older men that come in here day one. Our job is to make sure that we are, give me that in Isaiah, hold Daniel. Give me that in Isaiah. You know what I want. Cry aloud. Give me that. That's our job. Because our people don't understand that we're in sin. And the only way that we're going to turn from these things is acknowledging our iniquity, acknowledging the sin that we're in. And the only way that our people are going to do that, the only way I was able to do it, the only way the officer was able to do it and everyone else out there is because we heard someone preaching this gospel the way Christ commanded us to preach it. Read.
Isaiah chapter 58, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet.
And do what?
And show my people their transgressions.
That's a hard job. It's a thankless job. It's a dangerous job.
Right.
To go out there and show the so-called black Hispanics and Native Americans their transgressions. They don't like that thing. They don't like some brothers and sisters amongst us don't like it.
Right.
I don't like to hear it sometimes if I get corrected on something, a sin that I'm in. Right? Read on. Is that it?
And the house of Jacob their sins.
And show the house of Jacob their sins. Go back to Daniel 9. Read verse 14 again.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 14.
Go ahead.
Therefore had the Lord watched upon the evil.
So the Most High is watching upon the evil. He's watched upon the evil. Read.
And brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth.
Read.
For we obeyed not his voice.
The Most High is righteous for doing what he's done to us, right? He's doing, and what did the Most High do to us? Go back to Deuteronomy 28 now. I want you to read verse 28, then jump to verse 48.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48.
And it says,
Excuse me.
the Lord is righteous in the things that he has done to us as a nation of people. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 28.
Go ahead.
The Lord shall smite thee with madness.
Now we've been smitten with madness. Read.
And blindness.
Go ahead.
And astonishment of heart.
Now we've been smitten with madness, blindness, and astonishment of heart. Let me get that first video. The first video that I posted, the one that's supposed to start at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. This is what the Most High has done to us. Read. Go ahead and play that.
Found that black people in the US are much more likely to have feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness when compared to white people in the country. Apart from these, feelings of sadness are also higher in black communities. When looking at teenagers, the likeliness of attempting suicide is also greater in African Americans. Researchers found that the suicide attempt rate is about 6.1% among white teenagers, but 9.8% among black teenagers. Between 2008 and 2018, there was also a significant increase in the prevalence of mental illnesses among black people in the country, and this leads to extra problems. For example, research has also shown that black people with these illnesses have a greater risk of turning to marijuana, cigarettes, illicit drugs, and binge drinking. Plus, some studies have also stated that black people tend to be affected by depression at greater levels of severity when compared to other populations or communities. This all creates big problems, as conditions like depression, especially when it goes untreated, can result in poor productivity, issues with concentration, headaches, fatigue, and much more. In the long term, this can have a big impact on the lives and well-being of black people. Third concern, destruction of the family structure.
Pause it right there.
They say family is everything.
You can pause it. Right, so basically he's talking about the level of depression and the mental state of our people based on the results of our community. The Most High has done that to us. Read that verse again, verse 28.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 28.
Go ahead.
The Lord shall smite thee with madness.
Now we're a mentally ill nation of people, right? So when we see our brothers and sisters that have anger issues or that suffer from depression or suffer from a lack of motivation and things of that nature, understand that it's a result of their community, right? So now coming into this truth now, we got to make sure that they're built back up.
Right.
All of us have a responsibility for each and every one of the souls that are within our community, within our body, within our congregations, to make sure that all of us have a sound mind, right? And to try and continue to exhort one another and be there for one another, right? Because that is what's coming into our body. That's what's coming into these schools here. People that suffer from mental illness, depression, lack of motivation, suicidal thoughts. All of these things our people go through. And it mentioned that in the black teenagers, right? Because they feel a sense of worthlessness. They don't feel like they they understand what their purpose is because of the way society sets it up. They're not doing what's glorified on TV, or they're not doing what's glorified on social media. So they don't feel like they're doing anything or doing anything fun or doing anything of worth. That's what we have to deal with. And that's what our children, that's what our adults, that's what our women all battle. Right? Read that verse again.
The Lord shall smite thee with madness
Go ahead.
and blindness and astonishment of heart.
Uh-huh.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness.
Now our people are groping, so they mentioned drug abuse, drug addiction, alcoholism, and things of that nature. Now we're drinking crazily and over drinking, right? We're smoking weed and have a dependency on it. Have a dependency on Black and Miles. There's a brother struggling with that thing. You should told him, yo, man, and I think Soldier walked outside with him with the black. Yo, I'm gonna make sure you do not smoke that Black and Mild now. And I think it was a new moon, so it was like you can't buy another pack. So take that thing and smash it. And the brother looked devastated. Right, but that's the type of love that we gotta have for our people. That's a village raising a child here, because we all come in here as children one way or another, right? And it should, at no point, it talked about suicidal thoughts. Let me get that real quick in Wisdom of Solomon. Hold Deuteronomy 28. Give me Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1. These are things that are going on in our community. And it has to be addressed because guess what? The people that, all of us that walk through these doors come from these communities. It doesn't matter what demographic it is. We can't just assume everybody is good and everybody's cool and everybody's mental state is good just because they're sitting here and have been sitting here for 3, 4, 10 years. No, they're struggling as well. Everyone's struggling, and we all need each other. We all need that charity to come together. Read that. Wisdom of Solomon 1, verse 12 and 13.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 12.
Go ahead.
Seek not death in the era of your life.
Right, so these scriptures tell you don't seek that death. These are the scripts that'll give you patience and comfort in the era of your life. Read.
And pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands.
Right, don't put upon you, don't take I'm not even going to give no ideas, right? But don't put upon yourself destruction with the work of your hands. Read on.
For God made not death.
The Most High did not make us to die. Read.
Neither have ye pleasure in the destruction of the living.
You must understand that if you do those things, young brother or old brother, or young sister or old sister, whatever you are, and whatever you're dealing with, if you put death upon yourself, the Most High, if you allow depression, that demon to come upon you, you're not pleasing the Lord. You're not doing anything to please him there. Read that verse again.
Verse 12. Seek not death in the era of your life.
Read.
And pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands.
That is the solutions to these are the scriptures that our people need to be hearing to build up their spirit in order to continue to endure in this faith here and get what is rightfully ours as long as we continue in the faith. Read.
For God made not death.
The Most High did not make us to die. Read.
Neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living.
And he does not have any pleasure in our destruction. We are being destroyed now. We're being cursed now because of our disobedience. It's a chastisement to bring us closer to the Lord, to bring us back to God, right? But we cannot allow depression and those things that are prevalent in our community to take us out. You can put the video back up now and play on. We can't allow that thing. These are the environments that we've all come from, and these are the different environments that our minds are being seduced by as well. Go ahead, you can play it.
Third concern, destruction of the family structure. They say family is everything, and when I say family, I'm talking about a loving home with a father, mother, and kids. A home with responsible parents will more likely raise kids who have morals and discipline. Anything other than that can be absolutely chaotic to individuals and the communities they live in. Unfortunately, a proper family structure has been lacking in America's Black communities for as long as most of us can remember. According to a 2002 study, it was discovered that more than 70% of Black kids in America were illegitimate. Are you surprised? Well,
Pause it.
because there is a strong reason for this.
Pause it. It says more than 70% of Black children are illegitimate, meaning born out of wedlock, living in single-parent homes, don't know who their mother or their father is. Illegitimate children. No one lays claim to these children here. So it's important that we become that village now, because that's what's walking through that's what's in our congregations. Illegitimate children that have low self-esteem, right? And how in the world can they build up their self-esteem if we don't know how to be charitable towards them the way God tells us to be charitable? We claim that we're unifying, but we're still showing the remnants of the world when we come in here. There's still division. There's still bickering. There's still there's still a lack of the application of the precepts when it comes to dealing with one another. If we have a ought against one another, Matthew 18, still all these different things. There's still jealousy. There's still envy. All this stuff is still going on. And we don't pay attention to the fact that it's affecting our children here, or the younger souls here, or even the older souls here. Right? Go ahead and play the video. Play on.
For as long as most of us can remember. According to a 2002 study, it was discovered that more than 70% of black kids in America were illegitimate. Are you surprised? Well, don't be, because there is a strong reason for this.
The very beginning of the welfare system was the passage of the aid to dependent mothers early in the New Deal. And you know what? It was perfectly reasonable.
The disintegration of the black family structure began in slavery, where they did evil things to tear us apart, but really ramped up in 1963 when the US government declared welfare as a right. Sure, getting money from the government has its perks, but believe me when I say its downsides are much greater. After welfare became law, black women stopped getting married and began raising kids as single mothers. The case is still the same today, as there are just too many black households that do not have fathers.
The only way you can not be emotional is you have to have a father who teaches you and trains your emotion. Other than that, your mama, you have to be emotional, because that's the only time your mother whoops you. You got no spankings when your mother was calm and not emotional. So that's why you're emotional. You were disciplined with emotion. You wasn't disciplined with logical rules to follow. You got spanked when you were frustrated. You didn't get spanked calmly and taught while you were being spanked. So you can't undo this, homie. What's done now, we can't undo this. We'll be dead and gone before we see a new group of men that don't respond like us.
What he said, I agree with some of the stuff that who was that? Charleston White said. Some of the stuff I don't agree with, but they said the disintegration. I want to go back a little. You don't have to change the video. You don't have to rewind it. But they basically said the destruction of the black family started in slavery. And we understand that slavery is a curse. It's an end result of our disobedience towards the Most High God, right? We must understand that. That's what the Bible tells us. A lot of us, we've wanted the answers to why we went through slavery, why we had to go through Jim Crow. Why do the other nations hate us all of our lives? And the answer is written right there in the book. Message. And you have people like, I want to call him Cat Williams for some reason, but it's just some Charleston White. I don't know why I'm thinking of Cat Williams. But brothers like Charleston White, they don't want to accept it. When it's written right there in his face. That's why he can say something foolish like, there's never going to happen in our lifetime, when he sees what's going on now in the nation. He makes mockery. He makes mockery of the men that he claims will never come along in his lifetime to build up his community. He's a part of the problem. He's a part of the problem. We know these things happen, and it's a system set up by our enemies that the Most High gave to us. Give me Deuteronomy 28, verse 48.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48.
Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
So God sent these people against us. He sent them to enslave us. He sent us to devise a system and to take crafty counsel to affect the minds and affect the spirits of our men and our women, to cause them to destroy their own family based on their own covetousness. The gift that destroys the heart, the welfare system and things of that nature. That's why we're a degenerate nation of people now. Read that. Read on.
In hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
So now everything that we need, we go to our oppressor for. Read.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Right, and that's how we've been destroyed. That yoke of iron has been placed upon our necks as a nation of people. And then we've been liberated, quote unquote, from slavery, or what do they call it? Emancipated from slavery after we've been destroyed as a nation. After we've become perfect, dead zombies that are going to perform the so-called white man's will here by destroying ourselves. Right? Read on. Verse 49.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
Go ahead.
From the one end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Go ahead.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Right. So Hispanic man, when the conquistadors came onto the shores of North, Central, and South America and changed your language to Spanish or what do they speak? Portuguese and things of that nature, that was not your native tongue. English was not our native tongue. French was not our native tongue. We learned that thing through rape, robbery, and murder, through whips and chains. Right? We had to conform to those things. We had to conform to these names and languages. Read on.
A nation of fierce
A
countenance,
fierce countenance. Read.
which shall not regard the person of the old,
Uh-huh.
nor show favor to the young.
They don't give a damn that we're aborting our children at alarming rates. They don't give a damn that we're killing one another. Matter of fact, they provide the weapons for us to do that in our communities. They don't care about that we hate each other. They don't care that we know who we are as a nation. They don't care if our children grow up without fathers, without mothers. They don't care that our children are growing up orphans in the streets today. They don't care. Read. Verse 51.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle.
Go ahead.
And the fruit of thy land.
He's going to oppress us. Read.
Until thou be destroyed.
He's going to oppress us until we're completely destroyed. Read on.
Which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind.
Go ahead.
Or flocks of thy sheep, until he hath destroyed thee.
Until he has completely destroyed us. We are living in a system that was set up to destroy us, to perpetuate our destruction, to the point where we're a well-oiled machine, the so-called black community. We do it on our own now. Let me get my welfare check. Let me get my Section 8. Let me get all those things. Okay, I don't need the black man, but I want to have sex with the black man. Not understanding that you need that black man to create some form of stability with your children and yourself. You need that protection. You need that guidance. I told you to go, what time mark I told you to go to on that video? 8 minutes, where we at? All right, go ahead, play on.
His mother right and train your child's emotions. So it means you have to spend time with your son. I mean, you got to spend a lot of time with your son.
For most kids in the hood, without a father at home, the streets will become their teachers. They'll learn how to use and sell drugs, how to rob, and commit other crimes worthy of sending them to prison. But wait, was this the plan of the white power all along? Of course, everyone should take responsibility for their actions, but it's hard to do the right thing when you've been thrown into a system where it's almost impossible. Growing up without a father will more likely than not leave psychological scars on a child, and too many black kids have had to deal with those scars throughout their entire upbringing. Take a look at Lil RT, a 9-year-old rapper who talks about smacking people with guns and running from the police. Apparently, little is known about his father, while his mother has been the one in charge of promoting his violent and explicit music. I mean, it'll take a miracle for this fatherless kid to refrain from his way of life. But that goes to show just how much the black home has been destroyed. I'll leave you with one more heartbreaking statistic before I move on to the next major concern in the black community. Brace yourself. But has anyone ever told you that 30% of the total number of abortions in the US are done by black women? Hard to believe, but true. And this alarming act is another testament to how much the family structure among black people has been depleted. The high practice of abortion among black women has also led to something even more alarming, which is an increase in the underappreciation of human life. It has also led to a reduction in the civility with which black women treat each other. America knows a strong family is the key to building real wealth and change.
Right. So we've seen that. It says America knows that a strong family is the key to provoking and creating good health and good wealth, right? And stable minds. And it shows that the way our enemies did, they dealt. Give me that in Exodus chapter 1, verse 9 and 10. They've dealt while we're set up in a system that was designed to destroy us. And the only way out. Now, you see how the end results of, you see how they mention things like miracles, and Charleston White says that this will never happen in my time. They feel like this thing is never going to happen, right? But we're watching it happen today. We're taking part in that thing. And when we, as a congregation and a nation, we must understand that we are all that we have as a nation of people. We are that village that it takes to raise a child, whether it's a literal child or that grown 50-year-old man that walks in with all of the world on him, all of the destruction on him, and he comes in now, he's that child. And it takes all of us have to take part in nurturing and showing that, being that example of charity towards one another so that they can boost their self-esteem and continue to fight in this thing. Because that is what they're dealing with now, the lack of fathers, the lack of true and sound-minded mothers. It's a system designed to destroy us, and the Most High put these people in place to destroy us because of our disobedience. Read that, Exodus 1, verse 9.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Go ahead.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them.
Right, so at first they had to deal harshly with us and show complete brutality, right? Until we've been completely destroyed, and now we got to deal wisely. Let them think that they're free, right? Let's say that we emancipated them, and now you're free, black man, but they've given us nothing. We have absolutely nothing to show for our freedom. As a matter of fact, the things that they do give us, it's used as a tool to destroy our foundation, our family, to the point where now we're dealing with the low self-esteem, destruction, the poverty, the money, the drugs, the abortions, the prostitutions, all these things we're dealing with as a nation of people based off of the wise dealings of our enemies. Read on, verse 10.
Lest they multiply and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them out of the land.
Get them up out of the land, right? So that's what they're afraid of, that black unity, so-called black unity, right? Now they claim that J. Edgar Hoover's quote is not, put that image up. That's the village that is used to raise our children. And that's what why do I keep Cat Williams in my head? That's what Charleston White is saying right there. Charleston White claims that this is not going on today. He claims that he's not going to see it in his lifetime. But when he did see it, he made mockery of it. Charleston White claims that this is not going to happen in his lifetime. It's our job to prove him wrong and to prove everyone else wrong. And matter of fact, it's our job to be that light to show him that, look, this is happening. The brother might repent. He might repent after a while. You never know. The Most High's plan is crazy, right? The Most High is a mastermind at this thing. But as of now, our people don't believe that this thing is possible based off of the crafty counsel of our enemies. Let me get that second video now. From 0 to 47 seconds. Matter of fact, read Isaiah 42, verse 22 before we go there. Isaiah 42, verse 22. Because we've been robbed and spoiled as a nation of people, right? To become a product to these other nations. They benefit off of our destruction. They benefit off of us not knowing how to deal with one another as a nation of people. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22.
Go ahead.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
We've been robbed of our heritage, robbed of our nationality, robbed of our names, robbed of our wealth, robbed of our land, robbed of our God. And we've been spoiled. We've been made a spoil to the nations. They profit off us every which way. From his taxes to we get our paychecks and we paying all type of bills, subject to payment, everything we got to pay for. Like that hamster running on a wheel, right? Read on.
They are all of them snared in holes.
And everywhere we turn, there's traps. The only place where there's freedom and there is no trap is in these scriptures here. And we're being taught that we don't, and our people don't even want to rely on the scriptures. In the congregations, our people don't want to rely on the scriptures.
Right.
We must learn charity. We must learn unity. We must learn how to unify, and it only starts by loving our neighbor as ourselves. Read on.
And they are hid in prison houses.
Read.
They are for prey.
We are the food to these nations. The Chinaman sees us, he sees a means to fill his belly. The white man sees us, he sees a means to fill his belly. The African man, the Hamitic African man sees us, we are means, we are product to feed his belly. Read on.
They are for a prey.
Go ahead.
And none delivereth.
And none has delivered us. Read.
For a spoil, and none saith, restore.
We don't need reparations. We're going to give you jobs. Right? We don't need to be restored. We don't need to be told the truth about who we are and who our forefathers are. Right? Go ahead and play that video. 0 to 47.
Like many songs will tell you,
Bullet holes left in my peak holes.
the story of what housing and other living conditions look like for many Black Americans is pretty bleak. And that's by design. In addition to artists cataloging their very personal experiences,
Hold on, pause it. He says the story of the Black Americans are pretty bleak. And that's by design. That's by design, right? You can go ahead and play it. Or rewind it a little bit. It's by design. We're in a system that is designed to keep us at odds with one another, to not trust one another, to not know how to trust one another, right? Read on. Go ahead.
their very personal experiences,
When the landlord dissed us, no heat. Wonder why Christmas missed us.
it's been proven that the modern phenomenon of concentrated Black poverty was an intentional government-sponsored institution.
Stop right there.
This
You
is
can
in
stop
part
it
why
right there. Black poverty was an intended government institution, it says, right? And so that lets you know part of their crafty counsel is to keep us in poverty, right? Because poverty leads to certain actions. Give me that. You know what I want? Proverbs 30? Proverbs 30, verse 7. We've been given poverty. They didn't let us off the slave plantations and gave us 40. If they give every free emancipated slave 40 acres and a mule, they knew that their destruction would be complete. Their destruction is close.
Right.
They couldn't do it. They would lose everything. Look how they reacted when they saw the wealth and the organization of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They couldn't believe it. They envied how we moved and how articulate we were and how collective we were able to work as a nation of people to build banks and airports and bus lines and train, all these different things we had. They saw the power in us when we moved in the spirit of unity. So they had to give us that thing. Read that. Proverbs 30, verse 7.
Proverbs chapter 30, verse 7.
Go ahead.
2 things have I required of thee. Deny me them not before I die.
Read. Verse 8.
Verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies.
Solomon said, remove far from me vanity and lies. We've been living, our enemies have been found liars today. From the image that they paint of Christ to the names that we have been given by them. It's all lies to our history. They tell us we are Africans, and when they show Africans on Nat Geo and on the TV screen, they don't show civilized Africans. They don't show Africans that are moving around in cities and driving cars and that have jobs and that can speak and articulate. They show Africans with bones in their noses, with flies around their face, when their bellies bugged out. That was my image of Africans up until my teenage years. I didn't realize that Africans was civilized people. And then the movie that they show on TV, Shaka Zulu? Shit, that's what we think is spear chuckers, right? That's what we thought Africans were. No. The Shemitic Africans were not that at all. Now, of course, there's some of them living like that, but those are Hamites, right? Read on. Read verse 8 again.
Verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies.
Go ahead.
Give me neither poverty nor riches.
So they're playing the game now. Give me neither poverty or don't make me rich either. Right? And now we see there's an imbalance in our community. We grow up extremely poor so that we chase that money. And then we become rich. And what do? Read on.
Feed me with food convenient for me.
Read.
Lest I be full and deny thee.
And that's what you see from all of our rich so-called billionaire Black people. Now, look what Diddy's going through. Look what Jay-Z's about to go through. Look at R. Kelly in prison. Look what Oprah Winfrey goes through, the level of self-hatred. Look at the lifestyle that brothers like Tyler Perry live. Completely disconnected from his community. The brother thinks he relates more to the black woman than men, and he's supposed to be a man. Damn! But he's rich. He's completely destroyed. Right? Read on.
Lest I be full and deny thee.
Or what else?
And say, who is the Lord?
Right, who is the Lord? I did this myself. Or some of them, they throwing up the Baphomet sign. They acknowledge that they worship the devil. They could care less because they are rich, and they deem that riches is what makes you who you are, and that your God is going to give you all these riches here in the devil's playground. Right? Read on.
Or lest I be poor and steal.
Do what?
Or lest I be poor and steal.
The video said that poverty is by design, because they know that young 8, 9, 10-year-old child that has bullets through their mother's hallway window or bedroom window and things of that nature, right? Biggie Smalls says, then the landlord dissed us, no heat. I wonder why Christmas missed us, right? You're born poor and you don't have these things. But then you see people getting it. What do you think is going to be the influence? And then you don't have that father in the house that shows you the example of someone that's working hard or working a hard 9-to-5 job just to pay the bills. No, you see that dope boy on the corner because daddy gone because mama's taking that welfare check. That's the system that was designed for our nation of people, right? Read that verse again. Verse 9.
Lest I be full and deny thee, and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal.
Go ahead.
And take the name of my God in vain.
But now you use the word of God to claim that he wants you to steal. And it's a good thing to be a fornicator or to be covetous. Get rich or die trying, and then you wearing a big chain with a cross around your neck. Because your God gave you those things based off of your wickedness. Message. You took the name of the Lord in vain. Give me Proverbs 6, verse 30. It's in the nature of people when they are poor and hungry, it's their nature to survive. It's a survival instinct. If I can't get it legally, I'm going to take it because I got to eat. Right? And there's laws based around those things. Read that. Proverbs 6, verse 30 and 31.
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 30. Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry.
When he is hungry, he still is satisfied. We watch the movies where brothers that break a window, like an old 60s movie or whatever. They break a window to get a piece of bread or something like that. I think it was like the Ray Charles story, something like that. But you know what I mean? They do it because they're hungry. They ain't eating days, so they rather put their freedom at risk in order to eat, in order to survive, right? But the Bible says that. Read that again.
Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry.
So it says don't hate him, but read on.
But if he be found.
But when you find him, read.
He shall restore sevenfold.
Make sure that he restores sevenfold, read.
He shall give all the substance of his house.
Right. Give him a chance, but make sure that he pay that thing back. Don't hate him, but make sure he pays that thing back, right? Play the video now again at what we got, 3 minutes and 9 seconds to 4 minutes and 18 seconds. 3 minutes and 9 seconds to 4 minutes and 18 seconds.
I'm directing the Department of Housing and Urban Affairs and Urban Development to redress historical racism in federal housing policies.
This executive order is just one of 4 signed by President Biden, designed to address racial equity in the United States. And while this progress is a step in the right direction, there's still a lot of harm to undo.
Segregation started coming down after the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which actually only got passed in the wake of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. In 1980, 8 out of 10 Black people would have had to move in order to be evenly integrated within metropolitan areas. Half of Black people who live in metropolitan areas still live in neighborhoods of high segregation. So we've had modest improvement, but segregation persists. And economic segregation has spiked since 1970. the so-called American dream is only working for a relatively small slice of the population that can afford to buy their way into what I call gold standard neighborhoods that have the best of everything. And everybody else struggles, and the black poor struggle the most.
Right. That's it on that. It says, and the black poor struggles the most. This is the state of our nation. This is the state of our people. And it's been brought upon us by the Most High because of our disobedience. Right? We got to accept that thing. And we got to understand that how we're living is written in the scriptures and it's there for a reason. But we still must understand as we come into this nation, as we come back into this understanding, give me that in Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2, read verse 1. We must understand that now we have to gather together. And we're doing that. Right? We are coming together. But it's more than just sitting in the same room with one another from Sabbath to Sabbath. It's more than just coming to a new moon feast, you know what I mean, saying shalom, most high in Christ bless, playing some music, dancing, whatever we do on these days. And yes, we definitely need to be doing that, continue to do that. But we got to start developing that village. Right. We got to start developing that community, and it comes by our application of charity towards one another. Understanding that we are family and entrusting in our brothers and sisters and seeing our brothers and sisters, whether it's them or their family or their siblings or their children in the body as our children or as our family as well. Right? Because it takes a village to raise a child. Go ahead and read that.
Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1.
So what does the Most High want from us? Read.
Gather yourselves together.
Go ahead.
Yea, gather together. O nation not desired.
So we understand that we're the undesirable ones, right? Charleston White understands that. Cat Williams understands that. I had to just say his name just to get it out. But Charleston White, Cat Williams, Denzel Washington, all these people understand that we are the nation not desired. Every single one, even those of us that are growing up in poverty, understands that we are not desired by these other nations. We know that. The rich understand that we are not desired. I bet you Puffy understands that. Diddy understands that now. Right. They creating documentaries every month on every single platform about the brother. Now if he's guilty, he needs to suffer for his crimes, right? He's bugged out. They got enough surviving Diddy, all this foolishness now, but he was living on top of the world before. He's shaking hands and kissing white babies. Right, he got the key to New York. But now look at him. Public enemy number one. Read it again.
Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together. O nation not desired.
Read on.
Before the decree bring forth. Mm-hmm. Before the day pass as the chaff.
Read.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you.
Go ahead.
Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you.
Right, so we must gather together. We have, even in our captivity. Give me Jeremiah chapter 29. Even in our captivity, we must gather together because that is, first of all, that's the only weapon that we have as a nation of people against our enemies and against this system that's designed to destroy us. That's the only way we're going to get to where we want to go in this nation and have a peace of mind, right, and really feel free eventually. Right? Read on. Jeremiah 29, verse 4.
Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 4.
So while we're in our captivity, what are we supposed to do? Read.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives.
Unto all that are carried away captives, what are we supposed to be doing?
Whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon.
Read.
Build ye houses.
So we still have to continue to build houses. Yeah, you can hold on. Let me put that image up. Right? Read that again from the top.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives.
Go ahead.
Whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon.
Go ahead.
Build ye houses.
So our job is to build houses now, right? Build the houses for a family to reside in. Read.
And dwell in them.
Uh-huh.
And plant gardens and eat the fruit of them.
Go ahead.
Take ye wives.
Right, not baby mamas. Take ye wives. Come back to your heritage. Reverse these curses by applying Christ to our lives. Take ye wives now. Don't desire boyfriends and girlfriends. Read.
and beget sons and daughters.
And beget sons and daughters. You want your children now to be born in a stable family. Reversing, we know what the issues are. We know what the causes of the issues in our communities are. We can't continue to be ignorant towards these issues, right? We must now start taking wives and having righteous children brought up in a righteous household and community, right? Congregation in a righteous body with righteous influences. Read on.
And take wives for your sons.
And now as the process grows and our children grows, now we get to take part in the marriages of our children again. Now you, as a father in that household, you have a role in who your daughter marries or who your son marries to make sure that the foolishness and the debauchery stops. We can perform what Charleston White claims would never happen in his lifetime. Right? Read that again. Take wives for your sons.
Take wives and beget sons and daughters. And take wives for your sons.
Read on.
And give your daughters to husbands.
And give your daughters to husbands. There's no way in the world your child should be walking around and you don't know who their friends are, who they're talking to, what nation they are, who your daughter's speaking to, where your daughter's at all times, where your son is at all times. They shouldn't have that freedom. They shouldn't want that freedom if they're being raised up amongst the body and they're being raised up in the word of the Lord. Then they should not, they may seek it, they may be enticed by it, but they'll understand that there's a judgment behind it, and they'll have some form of fear of God in them. Right? But as parents, it's our job to bring them around that. Right? Because them children are just going to follow our examples. Right? Read.
That they may bear sons and daughters.
Read.
That ye may be increased there and not diminished.
That we may be increased right here in Babylon, right here in the place of our captivity and not be diminished. Give me Judges 5. And not be diminished. That's our job, to unify as a nation of people. We're commanded to do that right here in captivity. Slavery and being in poverty and being oppressed is not an excuse to live like niggas. It's not an excuse to be a baby mother. It's not an excuse to go sleep around with every woman around and be content with paying child support. Right? Some of us on child support now, we get it. Right? Because of our past lives. But as we come into this truth, that is just an end result or a judgment based off the life we once lived. But our understanding has changed to the point now to where we shouldn't want that for our sons and daughters. We shouldn't want that from the young men and women that are in the same congregations that we're in. We shouldn't want to see that either. Right? Read that. Judges 5 and 11.
Judges chapter 5 verse 11.
Go ahead.
They that are delivered from the noise of orchards in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord.
Go ahead.
Even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel.
Right, so it's our job now to rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord toward one another while here in captivity. That's what we're coming back to. And that's called the love of neighbors. Give me that in James chapter 2 and verse 8. We're commanded to come together. We're commanded to gather together. Read that. James chapter 2 verse 8.
James chapter 2 verse 8. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture.
If we fulfill the royal law. Can I get the definition of royal? I apologize, AV. I didn't get that to y'all. The definition of royal. Definition of royal. Can you read that?
Right here. Royal, having the status of a king or queen or a member of their family.
Right, having the status of a king or queen or member of their family. The royal law. We are members now of the family of Israel, of the nation of Israel. Our king is Jesus Christ, the Black Messiah. We are the member of a royal family. That's who we are. And he's given us royal laws, meaning he's given us laws to know how to conduct ourselves as princes, as princesses, as kings, as gods on this earth. We've been given these laws. It's a royal law to do this. Go back to James chapter 2 now.
James chapter 2 verse 8.
Go ahead.
If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture.
If we follow the scriptures and fulfill the royal law, what does that law read?
Thou shalt love thy neighbor yourself.
What shall we do?
Ye do well.
But how do we do that now? What does that mean to love our neighbor as ourselves? Give me 1 Corinthians chapter 13. What does it mean? How do we fulfill that royal law? What are we supposed to be applying today amongst one another? Yes, 1 Corinthians 13, start at verse 1. We're going to read that thing.
Yes, sir. First Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1.
We're going to read through verse 8. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal.
Right. So it says, though I speak with the tongues of men and have of angels, if I don't have charity, I'm just making noise. It means absolutely nothing. All of us have some form of those gifts that Christ gave out to us, right? That measure of faith, or that measure of grace that we've been given in order to be an asset used by the body. The understanding of these scriptures, right? That some brothers are great orators. They can speak well. Some brothers have great charisma. Some brothers are very analytical and can remember precepts and put those things together. All these different things we've been brought in, and we have those things. Great teachers, you know what I mean? All this thing that brothers come in this truth having, but if we don't have charity, the love of neighbors, it means absolutely nothing. And this is what we must understand. Read on.
And though I have the gift of prophecy,
Go ahead.
And understand all mysteries and all knowledge.
Read.
And though I have all faith.
So, and though I have all faith, I ain't never trying to miss no Sabbath, right? I'm going to go to every blitz. I'm never walking out the house without friends. I'm not even thinking about that sun still ain't down. I see a sliver of light right there, right? You claim you have all faith. But if you have not charity, read on.
So that I could remove mountains.
Go ahead.
And have not charity, I am nothing.
It doesn't mean nothing. That means there's more to it than just the work that we're doing now physically that we see here. There's more to it. There's a spiritual level that we have to reach as a nation of people in order to unify the way the Most High God wants us to unify, to reverse these curses that we've seen for the last hour in this class here. To reverse the depression, to reverse the thoughts of suicide, to reverse the fornication, to reverse the low self-esteem that we have here as a nation of people. Read on.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor.
Go ahead.
And though I give my body to be burnt.
Man, you going out to war. You going out to camp. You give your body to be burnt. I'm going to die for this thing. Read.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing.
You're doing it for no reason. You're doing it in vain. We got to get our minds right. We got to examine ourselves.
Right.
All of us do. Myself, we got to examine ourselves. Why are we doing this? Why do we give alms? Why do we come congregate each day? Why do we teach? Why do we go out to camp? Why are we doing these things? And our purpose, it has to be about the love of the nation, the love of our neighbors. Because if it's not about that, it means nothing.
Right.
If you're just here to look good before men, or if you're just here to get some form of status and things of that nature, or sit up front, or eat first, or whatever the hell is going on in your mind, some people just want a purple shirt. I just got to make it through MOV to get that purple shirt, and then that's it. Man, it means absolutely nothing. What you studying for? We're here to fix our lives and to be an asset towards our nation, our new family that needs us. Right? Read on.
Verse 4. Charity suffereth long.
Now it's given the attributes of charity. If you have a lack of patience for your brother and sisters, you don't have charity. If you're ready just to dismiss someone, not apply Matthew 18, you're not suffering long. You're not dealing with the 70 times 7 offenses that Christ said is going to happen and that we must forgive them. Read.
Charity suffereth long.
Go ahead.
And is kind.
And is kind. If you don't have a kind demeanor about yourself, always with an attitude. Man, there's a lot of sisters like that, right? You always got an attitude for some reason. You're in your feelings about something. Be mindful. Just because you here don't mean that you're moving right.
Right.
Read on.
Charity envieth not.
That envy is heavy. That envy is heavy. Are we doing this work here with envy in our minds? Do we envy the spirit of the brother next to me because he may have that that zeal. He may be that dude that goes out there and is a go-getter in this truth here. Do we envy that? Be mindful, right? The Christ says, beware of, pull up envy. Pull up that, thank you.
Envy, a feeling of disconnect or
Discontented.
Or resentful
Longing. I got it. A feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. Right? That's what we got to be mindful of. Because that's prevalent in all of the schools. Everywhere. Oh man, how come his video's being played? Or you know what I mean? All type of foolishness. Right, he got a lot of shorts, right? Why is he? How come everybody claps for him and nobody claps for me? And why don't you like his? I mean, what the hell are we doing? Bruh. Right, Saul and David, right? Are we here for just rank or here for position or here for some form of social status? Or are we here to get our lives right and to unify as a nation so we can get the hell out of here, man? It doesn't matter who's ranked what and where and how, who's getting the notoriety and stuff. Do what you got to do. Do the work and you'll be fine. It doesn't matter if everyone likes you and they love him or everyone loves him and hates you. It doesn't matter. You're doing this thing because you want the kingdom of God. Christ's going to even all that stuff out. But you got to make sure the back of your mind is charity. Right? Read on.
Charity vaunteth not itself.
And charity damn sure does not vaunt itself, exalts itself. I'm the grand poobah. I'm the man. Read on.
Is not puffed up.
And it's not puffed up. All of a sudden now you go from a soldier to officer of 10 and you ready to just blast brothers and yell at them. We've seen it. We've seen some of the most humblest soldiers when they become officer 10. Now, hey, man, you get over here. And I'm looking at you like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, that's not you. Or is it you? Well, if it is you, stop it, man. Why is you yelling at the brother? You watch the whole interaction. You don't know how to do that? I knew how to do that. Why you ain't do it this way? Man, give me this thing. Like, what? Man, get the hell. You need to leave, bro. Brothers get puffed up in this thing. Right? Read on.
Doth not behave itself unseemingly.
Does not behave itself unseemly. Read.
Seeketh not her own.
We're not in this thing for our own. We don't do this. Give me that. Where's that scripture that says I labor not? I can never find that thing. Yeah. I was looking for that thing the other day, and it took me like an hour and a half. Yeah, get that. Sirach 33 and 17.
Sirach chapter 33, verse 17.
Go ahead.
Consider that I labor not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning.
Right. We don't do this labor for ourselves. And we shouldn't be doing this labor for ourselves. The sisters don't go out on feast days and slave over stoves and make big pans of cabbage and rice and chicken and stuff for themselves. It's a labor of love. It should be. You shouldn't be doing it if you want some type of status or notoriety. You don't break that unleavened bread for yourself. We don't study for ourselves as men of the Lord. We do. Read that again.
Consider that I labor not for myself only.
Go ahead.
But for all them that seek learning.
For all them that seek learning. Right? Go back to 1 Corinthians 13. I love that. That precept is nice.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5.
Go ahead.
Doth not behave itself unseemly.
Go ahead.
Seeketh not her own.
Go ahead.
Is not easily provoked.
It's not. Yeah, man, and why are you so easily provoked all the time? Why are you always the one angry or mad or disturbed? And why, you know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you? Right. The second somebody does anything, you mad, and you're doing this in the midst of the congregation. Read on.
Thinketh no evil.
Thinketh no evil. Read.
Rejoiceth not in iniquity.
Go ahead.
But rejoiceth in the truth.
Our job is to learn how to rejoice in the truth. And all of us struggle with some of these attributes, multiple of these attributes. All of us struggle with that thing from time to time. Why? Because we're in the flesh. All of us are flesh. That's why long suffering is important. That's why forgiveness is important. Because every single one of us is going to slip and be out the spirit and need to be reeled back in by our community, right? By the village that the Most High has set up for us. Read on.
Beareth all things. Believeth all things.
Read.
Hopeth all things.
And hopeth all things. Read.
endureth all things.
Endureth all things. There's no reason to ever leave the body. There's no reason for it. You must endure all things. Right? When we speak it, that's what's written in the Bible. We must hold ourselves to that thing. Right? Read on.
Charity never faileth.
And it says what?
Charity never faileth.
Charity never faileth. Read.
But whether there be prophecies, there shall fail.
Because prophecies are
They
going to
shall
be
fail. Excuse me.
prophecies are going to come to pass. That's what happens. We're living through prophecy now. Read.
Whether there be tongues, they shall cease.
Right? Those ability to speak in tongues. Read.
Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away.
Read.
For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away.
Right. So we must endure until that time when we have the full understanding and knowledge of Christ and knowledge of self and knowledge of these scriptures. Until then, we must rehearse these righteous acts of the Lord. Last precept. Give me Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah 65, verse 19. We'll end off with 19 through. Just read. Isaiah 65, verse 19. Brothers and sisters, we have to understand that, yes, we're coming together as a nation. We're learning how to build, but without charity, we're not going to have that perfect unity that Christ wants us to have prior to his coming, prior to his returning. Right? We do not want to be those examples in the wilderness that's going to get put to death. Right? Read on.
Isaiah chapter 65, verse 19.
Read verse 18.
Verse 18. But be ye glad and rejoice.
Sorry,
forever.
verse 17. 17, I'm sorry.
Verse 17.
Uh-huh.
For, behold, I create new heavens and a new earth.
All these things are prepared already for us, waiting on us to get our minds right. Read.
And the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind.
All of the oppressions that we've been going through, all the curses that we went through, that stuff is not even going to come to our minds if we continue to endure and make it to where we need to be. Learn how to apply charity and unify before the decree bring forth so that we can get to this point right here. That stuff, depression's not even going to be another thought. Worrying about where your next meal's coming from is not going to be a thought. Read.
But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create.
Read.
For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing.
Read.
And her people a joy.
We are the joy of this earth. We're the joy of the Lord. So we gotta internalize that and understand that. We don't need to be down on ourselves and feel like we're purposeless in this truth here. He's given us joy. We gotta take joy in knowing who we are. And that we're applying these laws in order to reverse this thing. Read on.
And I will rejoice in Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And joy in my people.
And the Most High is going to joy in us. Read.
And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her.
So we saw in the videos about the depression and all of the different things that our people are going through. If we continue to endure and apply charity and unify, we're not going to worry about those. The voice of weeping is not going to be heard in her ever again. Read.
Nor the voice of crying.
Nor the voice of crying. Read on.
There shall be no more thence an infant of days.
Right. The infants are not going to die at a young age anymore. Read.
Nor an old man that have not filled his days.
Our young men are not going to be put to death at the age of 12 and 13 or 14 and 15 to where it's a miracle. You're just glad that you made it to the age of 40. So our young people can't even think of even being old anymore because their lifespan is so short. That's not going to be like that anymore. Read.
For the child shall die 100 years old.
Read on.
But the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed.
Read.
And they shall build.
Worm. That's that worm that we went over. Read.
And they shall build houses.
Now we're going to build houses. Read.
And inhabit them.
You see, the curses now are being reversed. Before we built houses and we did not inhabit those houses. But read that again.
And they shall build houses.
Read.
And inhabit them.
Read.
And they shall plant vineyards.
Read.
And eat the fruit of them.
That's reversing these curses. Read on.
They shall not build and another inhabit.
We're not going to build anything for another person to inhabit. Read.
They shall not plant and another eat.
We're not going to plant and another eat our goods. Read on.
For as the days of a tree are the days of my people.
As the days of a tree are the days of my people. Read on.
And mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands.
And the elect is going to enjoy the work of our hands. Read on.
they shall not labor in vain.
We're not going to labor in vain as we are when we're under these curses. Read.
Nor bring forth for trouble.
We're not going to be worried about a damn thing. Read.
For they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord.
Because we are the seed of the blessed of the Lord. Read on.
And their offspring with them.
Read.
And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will.
We ain't even going to have to tell the Lord what we need. Before we call, the Most High is going to provide it for us. Read. It's going to go right back to how it was with Adam in the garden. Read.
And while they are yet weak, I will hear.
Right. So with that, brothers and sisters, I'm Officer Yuan Asad, babe.
What is a nation?
Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word